welcomes you to
post-production.
All right, we are going to go through the midterm review. Hopefully you did this in class. If not, if you were absent for some reason or you're just trying to get another walkthrough, welcome. So midterm is going to be practical, do some stuff with some files, turn it in. It'll be similar in form to what we're going to do here on the review. Content, anything that we've covered so far in the semester. I have a list of things that we've looked at. Are there things I've forgotten? I don't know. Maybe if they're not on this list, that doesn't mean they won't be on the midterm. But there's a list on here just to remind you, basically just pulled off the website. Go back, look at the website. We've got videos, we've got handouts. All those resources are there. Take a look at the comments on your homework. Hopefully that should be mostly graded by the end of this week. So check the comments on Brightspace and see if there's anything, especially if like something's lower than you think it should be, anything that you were missing. So let's go ahead and dive into the midterm review. I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop. And oops, not open. I'm going to make a new document. And I know I'm going to need to call it something over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it that to begin with. Farwell, Brad, PH172, assignment 7A, 1024 by 768, 72 pixels, RGB, 8-bit, sRGB, white background color. All good, F for full screen. Now remember, right, read the instructions. That is the most helpful thing you can do. Make a new layer, call it pen test. Try to spell pen test right. You may need to try to spell it right several times. Cool. So I'm going to grab my pen, there's my brush tool, B on the keyboard, make sure I have black paint, D for default, just check it down there. Yes, black is my foreground paint. Okay, did a little test scribble to make sure the paint color is right. Already I can see something is amiss. Command Z out of that. Let's go up. First I'm going to make sure my brush size is right, 80 pixels. Yeah. That is what I was asked to set it to. I'm going to set it to a hard edge brush, right? I can do that here, but that's not what a brush stroke is supposed to look like. That looks like a caterpillar. I'm going to come up here to this little brush folder thing, pull up my brush settings palette. Spacing, get out of here, spacing. Okay, that's much better. So I look at the thing, it says what shape I need to do. It says squares, so hard edge square, soft edge square, and then we need a square where it fades in. So I'm going to go to transfer, make sure both of these are set to pen pressure. Minimum 0, minimum 0. Cool. And go ahead. Awesome. Draw a square where it fades in. Are you going to be drawing squares? No, you're not. You're going to be drawing something else. But you should be able to do these three kind of lines. Hard edge, soft edge, fading in. Right? You should be able to do that, if not in your sleep, because that would be weird, at least without thinking about it too terribly much, right? Pay attention that we're doing it on a blank layer, right? That we're naming things, size of your brush, size of your document, color space, all that good stuff. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I know it's going to go into a folder, so I'm going to go here to my desktop. You will have copied over these files, and you can just rename the folder that those files are in. since I am doing this without having done that, I'm going to make a new folder, and my folder is last name, first name, PH172, assignment 07. Awesome, right? File name, last name, first name, PH172, assignment 7A, and saving it as PSD, layers, yes, embed color profile, yes, and save. Great. All right, that's the easy part. Part B. So first we need to open a raw file, right? So you can do this through Lightroom. That's totally fine if you want to bring it into a temporary Lightroom catalog and make that edit to it there. I'm just going to do it in Photoshop using Photoshop's Camera Raw. And I am going to, actually, since I'm here, I'm going to take these files and try to make my experience a little bit more accurate to what you're doing, and that I will stick those files in this folder. Awesome. So I'm going to open up that raw file. By default, double clicking on it, it should open up in Adobe Camera Raw. Let's see if it does. It does indeed. Good job, us. Again, you can also bring it into Lightroom and make these adjustments in Lightroom. That is totally fine. So adjust the white balance so that it looks normal. I mean, that looks like it was probably daylight, so I'm going to set it to daylight. That looks pretty good. Adjust the exposure to eliminate those blown out highlights. Okay. Again, if you're working in Lightroom, use Lightroom controls to do that. Highlights seem better. There, that looks pretty good. Right, so looking at stuff up here, right, I have some tone in there. All of that seems reasonable. Now I want to save or export the file to my Midterm folder as a PSD, full size with the following settings, and then there are some settings there. If I'm going to do that from Lightroom, right, we just export it as a PSD with those settings. Doing it from Camera Raw, I'm demonstrating that here because we need to come down here and click on that bit down there. Sorry, just show it again down here at the bottom. Click on that. Here's where we're going to set what our output stuff is. Adobe RGB 1998, bit depth 8-bit, resolution 150, sharpening none, resize. I'm not going to resize it. It's just going to come in at whatever size it is. This was shot with a Canon 5D Mark II, so it's a kind of a small file. Okay, so now I've established what my workflow is. Down there at the bottom, it should say those things, and I can come here and I just want to open it, right? Don't want to open it with these other weird things. Perfect. There it is, opened, and now I'm going to save as. And we'll save it as a PSD, and it says name it something rational. I'm going to name it Yankee Stadium. Exterior? I don't know. Photoshop, yes. Embed color profile, yes. Hit save. Cool. All right, so I've got that. I'm actually going to close this file now. The reason I'm going to close it is the next step, I need to bring all of these files into Photoshop as layers. Now, the easiest way, in my opinion, to do that is to come up here, File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. Let's come here and browse Yankee Stadium exterior, some dude, and helmet. right? So there are these other files, which is like a sample of what it should look like in the end. That pen test we just did and that DNG that we just like looked at and edited, those are not what I want. I just want these three, the PSD I just made, person, and helmet. So go ahead and open them. Cool, there they all are. I don't need to align them, right? Remember, because it's like nothing to align, not going to create a smart object. Just hit OK. You can also, again, bring them into Lightroom, open them as layers in Photoshop. You could open all three of them in Photoshop, right? And then do that same load files into stack and say add open files, right? As long as they've been saved, it will do the same thing. But I like doing it this way, so that's how I did it. Okay, here we have our beautiful layered file. Each one is named with the name of the file, which is what they should be. If necessary, rearrange stuff so the proper thing is on top. Rearrange the helmet and the person down to the approximate size and position that they have in the sample. So let's take a look at that sample. Okay, so helmet's pretty small. Dude is over there on the left. So I'm just going to go here to my helmet, free transform, Command T, and shrink it down. Not going to distort it, just shrink it. All right, again, I'm going to have to do that again, I'm sure. And the dude, I don't know, he'll be somewhere down here. Maybe I'll make him a little bit smaller. Okay, that seems cool. Bunch of extra space at the bottom. We'll probably crop it in the end. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so next up, use a layer mask to get rid of the whitish background behind the person. So I'm going to turn off the other layers just so that I don't have to look at them. Here is this dude, and you can get rid of that however you would like. You could use the magic wand if you felt so inclined, right? Not really great here. Probably need to mess with the tolerance, Command D to deselect. Let's try that object selection tool. That looks pretty good. Gotta love it. You could also use a pen tool if you wanted. You can use any combination of these things. That's all great. Remember, masking it off, not erasing the background. So now I have him selected. I can just go here, hit the Japanese flag, make a mask. That looks pretty good. Again, whenever you do these things, right, come in here and scroll around and look at stuff and make sure that nothing is too screwy looking, right? I can shift click on that mask, turn it on and off, make sure everything is okay. I'm like, does his ear look weird, or is that how it is in real life? That's how it is in real life, so we're good. Okay, I don't see any big problems with that mask, so we're going to go on to the next step. Use a blank spotting layer in the healing brush and or clone stamp as necessary to get rid of the words that are on his face and shirt. Word, and another word, so make a blank layer. Rename it because I'm not a barbarian. And then we can use healing brush and clone stamp as necessary. Remember, option click to get that source point. And then you want to make sure that you are using current and below. Right, let's check and see how big our thing is. Cool, let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, too big of a brush. Boop. Nothing down here. Cool. Ah. All right, this one is right on this edge, so maybe we could get a good edge condition and work out from that. I don't know, that seems kind of a pain. I'm going to go ahead and use the clone stamp. All right, touch up anything. Do. Okay, that seems fairly reasonable. All right, double checking that's all in the right layer. Yes, indeedy. Okay, that seems good. So now we're going to go to the helmet layer. Turn that on. I'm going to turn the dude off. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to lock position on those two so I don't accidentally move the spotting off of the dude. We can move them wherever we want later on, but for right now, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so here is our helmet. And I'm just going to double check what it is that I anticipate needing to do with it by looking at that finished file. Okay, I'm cutting it out and putting it on top of his head. So I'm going to need, cut that good stuff out. I'm going to use the pen tool because that is what it asks me to do, and I know that his head is going to go on the inside here, so I'm not going to worry about this stuff in the background there. I'm just going to cut out around here. And remember, if I do need to show any more of this stuff, I'm doing a mask, so I can always do that afterwards. Cutting out a little bit on the inside of the helmet so I don't get that background in there. Clicking and dragging to get a smoother curve. Right, you know, and we can do segments on a curve if you need to, but that's usually for smaller areas. For bigger sections of curve, you are better off clicking and dragging to get these Bezier handles. You can always go back, hold down the Command key, and move them around a little bit if you need to. A little bit close to the edge, pull that in. Alrighty. Seems pretty reasonable. And come back to the start point. Click to close that path. You can always use the holding down Command, moving it around, or you can always go to the direct selection tool, right? That is the solid white arrow to click on a path and grab any of the points and move them around, making sure again that you're not accidentally moving the entire path. Once you've got that path where you want, you've got it closed. I'm going to go to paths. Make sure that you double click on it and save it as something rationally named because I'm going to check. And if you don't do it, you're going to lose points. Okay, cool. So I've got the path. Again, we're going to use that path to make a selection, clicking on the marching ants. Make sure that we are on that helmet layer and boop. Click the Japanese flag to use that selection to mask it off. So I can turn on these other guys here, grab that helmet, move it over. I think it's a little big. I don't know. You tell me. Shrink it down. Okay. That seems okay. I think this part of the helmet is actually behind there, so I'm going to grab my brush and I think so. Mask it off a little bit. Hard brush. And just constant flow. All right, that seems more reasonable looking. Maybe that. All right, if there's helmet that should be behind here, we can show that. Nope. Okay, so now that helmet is on his head. Super fitting, looks fantastic. Cool, so now use an adjustment layer to make the helmet, and only the helmet, black and white. Sorry, the police are coming for me. So I'm going to use a black and white adjustment layer. And I'm going to clip it to the helmet. Right? Perfect. Use a curves layer and a mask to darken his forehead. Right? So I want to make the area that is sort of where the helmet is overhanging a little bit darker. So we're going to do some dodging and burning. I'm going to grab the marquee tool. Right, curves. Darken it a little bit. Clear out that marquee selection by making sure I have black background paint. Select all. Clear, right? I'm on that layer mask. I don't want to delete the layer itself. And then I'm going to go back and grab my brush, reduce my flow, and just like we did in dodging and burning, turn on transfer, soft brush, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go, sorry. All right. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, I'm on that curves layer, and just paint in some darkness. I can always go back into that curves adjustment and increase the darkness of it. Okay, so that is painted in. You'll notice that characteristic sort of saturation shift that we get when we do that. So I would like to go in and desaturate just in the area where that curves adjustment was. Do that by making a new hue saturation layer and clipping it to that curves adjustment. There we go. All right, so now I'm making it darker, but I don't have that super annoying color shift that I did have otherwise. Better. Okay, that all looks good. I want to make sure that I rename my layers. Goodness gracious. Shadow under helmet. Desaturate color shift. Helmet. Black and white. That all looks good. Zoom back out. Okay. Resize it to 300 pixels per inch without changing the number of pixels. So I'm going to go to image size, Command Option I, or image size. And I want to make it 300 pixels per inch without changing the number of pixels. So 5616, great. So 300. If I had resample checked, then it would increase the number of pixels. So here, I'll show you what that would look like. Right, now you can see up here it says 1100 pixels. Don't want that. Just want it to be 300 pixels and stay the same pixel count. Great. All of that looks good. Set the color space to sRGB and 8-bit. Image mode 8-bit, yes. sRGB. Go to Edit, Convert to Profile. What do we want it to be? We want it to be sRGB. I can do that there. I can do it here. Don't flatten. Bloop. That looks fantastic. And lastly, I'm going to crop it to the appropriate image, right? I don't need all this space down there. I've asked you to crop it to 8x10. So that's not right. That's the wrong orientation. Boop. There we go. 10x8. Again, keeping in mind 4x5 is the same as 8x10. You can just grab that, drop down there, and then hit that. Make sure there is not a pixel dimension up here. That is something that you could run into. And you can always just put 10x8 in there. All right, so cropping it in, 8x10. Seems good. Okay. Do I want to delete those crop pixels? I do not. So hit OK. Okay, so we've cropped it to 8x10. That all seems good. And now we go ahead and save it as last name, first name, PH172, assignment 07, B as in boy. Layers, yes. Photoshop, yes. Embed color profile, sRGB, yes. Hit save. And where did we save it? Good, we saved it in the right folder. Cool, so I can close out of Photoshop, double check that it looks kind of like what I was supposed to do. And then files that I'm turning in are A, B, and then my Yankee Stadium exterior. So those are the three files that you will be submitting for assignment 7. Other ones you can just toss that's fine with me. Don't turn them in because that will just take up more space. So just go ahead and model appropriate behavior. Boop. There we go. A, B, Yankee Stadium exterior. And you are good to go. Again, midterm, be very similar. And hopefully not a major difficulty.